Hello, hello, hello. It's been quite a while since I've streamed, so really hoping I haven't done anything wrong. I'm now in my new house, which does mean that it's a bit louder because I am in a city now, but I do have the privacy and the control of streaming for however long I want. My phone is going off, so we're gonna shut that out. And I know that, I don't know, something about this is gonna be weird to look back on in a few months, but for now, I'm just relaxing. I do still have my shitty mic, and I do still have actually I have a new chair. It's a temporary chair. Hopefully next week I'll be getting a new one. But for now, this chair might be a little bit squeaky. And of course, when I try and move, it does not demonstrate that for us. But we're also now on 2 screens. I have 2 monitors now. So I can pick this up, I can change its resolution, I can move it around, I can see chat and talk to people and do everything on a different screen. It's wonderful. I'm no longer, in the past, basically, I used to have overlays, so they were semi-transparent, and they just took up this portion of the screen, and then this whole column was the chat, and up here was the notifications. It was not a good look. But right now, got it on a second screen. I can actually talk to people, and yeah. So today I just felt like, why not give the latest beta a try? I haven't played in beta for a while, but fairly recently I found the Minecraft Bedrock launcher, which is a third-party tool, but it basically lets me switch between versions. And there used to be something like this, but way back in 1.13, I think, it went inactive because of some technical changes to the game. But there's this new version here now, and it's absolutely fantastic. So I'm going to be using this, and I am going to be playing in the latest beta. So this beta is from yesterday, I think, and it introduced some of the new generation, which they're calling 3D noise generation. Let me actually pull up the changelog. I think that would probably be good. You can see my FPS up on the top here, and you can see just how the moment I open Discord, my FPS just disappears. Oof. So we're gonna close Discord, because apparently it uses a lot of memory. And now we're on the changelog, where the frame rate is not much better. So, looking through the changelog, I don't actually know if I can get this to appear for you, so I'm not going to worry about that. But it says we're going to have 3D biomes with multi-noise generation. This is basically what they've been doing in Java Edition, so basically in the past, the heights of biomes were determined by the biome itself. So for example, something like savannas would have their biome height set to, I don't know, a value like 10, for example. Whereas a biome like plains would have their height value set to a value like 1. And so that let each biome have their own heights, and that made the world a little bit consistent. But that also meant that there were some issues, which led to them introducing biomes like Jungle Edge, which kind of had these varied heights and was kind of a transition biome. But now with the Caves and Cliffs update, as they're introducing these massive mountains, they're also just totally reworking that whole biome height algorithm. So rather than each biome having their individual heights, they actually have something that's called, so the biome height, they actually have the height map, which is independent from the biomes. So obviously the heights of the biomes will still be fairly consistent. Like for example, shattered savannas will be really high, extreme hills will be tall as well, and mesas will have their plateaus and their flatlands. But this just totally reworks that whole concept of individual biome heights, and it gives us a really interesting world generation, which actually feels a lot more fluid and it works together a lot better. So we're gonna give that a try. They've been testing this out on Java for I think 5 experimental snapshots right now, but they finally brought it over to Bedrock, which is what I mainly play. So we're gonna give it a shot. So this beta has not just that noise generation, but a side effect of that generation is squeaky chairs and lower performance, which is going to be a hassle, considering I'm not even in a world right now and my frames per second are already only like not even 30. But we're gonna see how it goes. We're gonna hope that things don't just totally fall apart. Yeah, I'm a nerd. We know this. So this, in addition to the noise, the biome height basically, we also have large ore veins. We have more actual biomes within the caves. We actually have the lush caves and the dripstone caves, which we didn't exactly have. They existed in the code, but they weren't actually properly executed. So in addition to large ore veins, we have the biomes. We also have noodle caves, which, if you don't know, the new Caves and Cliffs update which is introducing basically 4 types of caves: cheese caves, noodle caves, spaghetti caves. I don't know, that might be the same as noodle caves, and a bunch of other ones. So we have another type of cave. We have more algorithms as well as sub-chunks, which basically means rather than a biome running all the way from the surface in the sky all the way down to bedrock, we can actually have different biomes, which is what lets us have all these cave biomes. This was partially implemented in the Nether update, but it wasn't actually properly used. There's also a bunch of bug fixes in this update, but I don't think we're going to dive into that yet. So, now we have all the technical stuff done, let's actually play some Minecraft. So, to date, I haven't played the beta for at least a couple of years actually, and so now we get to see how the background is actually transparent. We have our brand new achievement screen, which actually has a button on the home menu now. They've renamed the profile button to dressing room, which honestly I don't like as much. It takes up more space, and it gives it, rather than it just being like a little rectangle down here, it gives it a lot more of a space. So here we just have that same thing, and now they have a play beta button. This whole thing seems pretty new, pretty standard. So we're just gonna go ahead, create a game. One of the other side effects of the low performance thing is that basically the way that Minecraft's performance works is essentially that it scales your render distance based on what they expect your performance to be. So in a higher performance, which is basically the stable releases, I have a pretty good 64 chunk render distance on this computer, which I'm pretty proud of. But this beta, I tried seeing how far I could how much my render distance is. 16 chunks. That's all. Which makes me sad, but we'll do what we can. So we're gonna keep our sim distance low, show coordinates, turn off fire spread, and we also do have to turn on experimental gameplay for this. While we're in here, why not turn them all on? Just because, so what if we lose this world? I don't think I'm actually going to be trying very much with it, but it's fine. So I am keeping my global resources on, which I have a few. I have a markers resource pack, which we'll probably end up using later on into this. I have an animated blocks pack, which I'll show you soon. I have a pack that turns all the birch leaves yellow, and I have the Oakridge pack. Oakridge is the realm that I manage and that I play on most frequently. So with this said, Let's keep an eye on that 30 to 40 frames per second and watch how much it just tanks when we start generating this world. Honestly, so far it's seeming pretty decent, but that might also be because they just forced the render distance down so low. So now I'm currently probably sitting at like 10 chunks of render distance, which is a painfully low amount. Though, admittedly, I don't have the best graphics. I do only have like AMD's Vega 8 graphics, which is a mobile graphics processor. But we're just gonna hope that this gradually, eventually generates. So noise generation is something that I'm not even playing online, is something that I've been very excited about for a while. And that's where the frames dropped to 1. Oh my goodness. As soon as it started building terrain, the frames just dropped to basically 0. Ouch. Let's get this started. It's taking a while. So noise generation is something that they hinted about in a video fairly soon after Minecon. It wasn't actually published within the broadcast, but one of the devs tweeted out an elytra flight through the world, and it did have what appeared to be noise generation. So I have seen a lot of stuff with the previous betas on Bedrock, which had the mountains, and I did play with them a bit in experimental mode, which is now in stable edition. So we do have mountains in Bedrock stable release, but only hidden behind the experimental toggle. I did play with that a bit, but oh, look how tiny this render distance is. You know, we're still we're not doing the best on frames, but I'm still going to see if I can boost it up a little bit. Because I'm, what, 10 chunks? Yeah. We'll go all the way up to 14. Wow. No, I'm kidding. That's absolutely pathetic. Okay, we're gonna stay at 16 with our 10 frames a second. Gosh. This isn't as bad as it was during some of the first Java edition experimental snapshots. So here we can start to see what they mean by this new generation. A part of this new generation is what they're calling microbiomes, which basically means in the middle of a huge biome like this is a plains biome bordering on the water, they just have a microbiome, just a tiny biome in the middle of it, and it looks like we have some of the problems that Java had originally. Earlier on, when Java Edition first had these experimental snapshots, I don't need this much render distance, it's lagging it out. When Java first had their experimental snapshots, I can't talk today, wow, great streamer. They basically had just random biomes that didn't fit in at all. Like one of these inside of a jungle. Snow and jungle don't mix well together. And it looks like that's what's happening here. So this is gonna be, let's get our inventory set up first. So this is where we get to see what the markers resource pack does, which does not work. Wonderful. Right then. That is kind of sad. Does it have to be like on one of the directions? I don't think it used to be. Does not work. Sad noises. Well, we can see anyway by the color of the grass that we are in a different biome. We're no longer in plains biome, and this is one of the examples of something that will eventually get polished out they're planning on changing up these microbiomes. So rather than this being, like a snowy biome in the middle of the warm plains, their microbiomes are going to be something like a forest biome in the middle, which is a lot more manageable. And here, I think, no, I was going to say I think we have an aquifer, but it is not. It's just a very bowl-like water generation, which is questionable, but I don't know, I guess it works. So with our low performance here, we're going to fly around a little bit. We're going to see something like this, which is obviously not something that we're used to. But this is part of this new noise generation, where basically this is like some form of a valley, I guess. Can I switch tabs and see if that makes it a little easier? Hello? Okay, was not responding to my touch. So this is a valley. So basically, I think in the future they would want to have water running through this, as it is, a valley. But this is part of their new noise generation. We wouldn't see something like that valley just cutting through the hill like that in current Minecraft, but here we are. So here we can see, like, this is something that we'll see later on in, like, the lush caves and all that, and aquifers underground, how the water basically has a cutoff point. And down there we actually saw something pretty interesting. Was that lapis at Y50? Right now, lapis is only supposed to generate up to like Y35-ish, but they did mention that they tweaked the ore generation, so I guess we're seeing some of that here. So now we're just a little bit deep down, a little bit into the caves, and I'm probably not going to look at this too much for now, because they haven't changed as much as we thought. They mainly just added the lush caves and dripstone caves right now as proper biomes, and you can probably hear a truck reversing in the background, which is great. If I just keep talking over it, it'll go away. Anyway, so we do see this generating awkwardly around Y50, which is fairly unexpected, and you would never see that now. We see copper generating all the way up at Y60. Yeah, this is a lot of new stuff. So we're gonna keep exploring, and here we see a pretty big hill. Is this a mountain? Are we already seeing a mountain? I can't tell because my render distance is so low. This is a meadow biome at the very least. Meadow biomes are one of the new ones. Why do I have clouds on? I do not like clouds. Bye-bye clouds. We're not going to do fancy graphics. We want more performance. And no fancy leaves for us today. So now here we are in a meadow biome. Meadow biomes have a lot of flowers, especially cornflowers. These are cornflowers, right? Yes, they are. Cornflowers, dandelions, and a whole bunch of berry bushes. They have this really interesting grass color, which is not as dull or as gray as in a spruce taiga biome. I actually really like it. It's kind of a softer, hilly green, and that's something to check out soon. But you can also see that goats spawn in this biome. It's generally pretty flat, but it has very steep hills when it does, and that's why you saw in this first bit how it just suddenly slopes up from the water. And here we see something actually really interesting. I think we found our first lush caves. the water kind of cuts through here, and we start to get kind of a ravine, and we get a lush cave, which is, I don't really know if it's properly implemented, because it does seem to be very patchy. Like, we would expect it to be a full biome, but right now we only see it like chunk by chunk. But this is looking a little bit more like it. Oh, I love this. You got a glow squid falling off the walls, your clay in these little water puddles, and you have your lush caves. Finally, these are implemented right. They've been saying that lush caves have been added for quite a few betas and updates now, but we haven't actually properly seen them added. So I think that these vines that we see here are a part of the lush caves being generated below, and we saw that as well a moment ago when we flew over here. We saw more vines being generated into this ravine, and maybe they're not because of the lush caves. Is there a lush cave biome beneath us? Yes, there is. Lush caves with a little micro patch of the dripstone. And, ooh. My flight skills are subpar when it comes to lag, apparently. Oh dear. So Bedrock also does not have a pretty important feature, which is, as you can see, we're now in the negatives, but the stone is still stone. It's not deep slate. And that's a little disappointing right now, but I'm sure that they'll fix it in the next 4 months before the update fully releases. So we're gonna head back up to the surface. Let's wait for the chat to respond. There we go. And we are going to continue checking out these new biomes. So this new world height and world generation is a little bit rough right now, but something like this I personally really appreciate. We have the hill on that side, we have the very, very slopey hill on this side, and then we just have this cute little valley in the middle. We have a valley with a lake and a village and a jungle biome even. We even have a mesa biome. Wow. This is the generation that we saw quite a bit in the first, the music stopped. No, it didn't. I lied. In the first Java snapshot, where you kind of get these biomes that you wouldn't exactly expect to go together as much. But this, I really like this. How we have this little valley of sorts with a wonderful village, jungles on one side, and if performance is able to keep up with me, a mesa on the other. I do find it pretty interesting how we're somehow managing to maintain a solid like 20 frames per, whoa. 20 frames per second even while it generates these tens of thousands of blocks. What is going on here? So obviously we have a... Is this an extreme hills or a meadow biome? Because there's a meadow biome over here which leads up to these probably extreme hills biomes. Let's see if I can actually recognize the grass color. Yeah, that's an extreme hills biome, but all around it is the meadow. we can also see over here, this is kind of what their goal was with the new world heights and noise generation. Basically, in an older version, what we would have to end up having is this meadow biome, or whatever biome this is, coming down and digging down into a valley, because that would be kind of where the biome ends, and then the biome would have to pick back up as we head into the mesa, because the biome heights are independent of each other. But over here we can see how the landscape just flows seamlessly even as the biomes just drastically change. Got some lag spikes over there, and the biomes are, I think the distribution is still a little bit off, but as mentioned before, we've seen that being fixed in Java Edition, where they had the same issues, and they fixed the biome distribution. And I really want to check out this island. But how high does this go? Previously, terrain was capped at 128? Not sure. This goes all the way up to 247 with trees that go up to the build limit, the old build limit, I should say. We are on the beta, which means we do have the new build height. So obviously you can see we're going above Y256 now with some bad sounds. This is so cool. If I had my higher render distance, we would be able to see a lot further now from way up here, but guess not. So let's just take a little flight around. Suddenly we've gone from the mesa to jungle to a savanna, back into the jungle, which is a little bit off because, we'd consider the mesa and the savanna a lot drier biomes, so those make sense to go next to each other. But a jungle, not so sure about that. Jungle's definitely a much more wet biome. See if we can find any more bits and pieces of stuff that can be kind of interesting. On Bedrock, we also don't have the locate biomes command, which would be very, very convenient for us, because then we could actually find a mountain biome. But we do what we can. I got some water to drink. Or not, I forgot to fill up my water. We'll refill that in a little bit. For now, while the world loads around us, let's head over to this little hill, see if it's something more. It is. We have a mesa microbiome, or is it a full thing? We have a full mesa biome over here, but what's going on over here? Over here we actually start to get a mesa biome mixing with a plains biome, which also seems to be mixing with an extreme hills biome, which you can tell because the emerald ore, which is generating visibly on the surface at Y84, which blows my mind. That's something you never would have seen before. Oh, this performance, please. With this beta, I can actually blame the bad performance on Minecraft rather than on my terrible GPU. So now we're in a desert, and I have been really interested in seeing how the desert's generated before, because game glitch. Because in Java, when we had the first iteration of the new noise generation, desert generation was really messed up. Like, they had these huge hills absolutely everywhere. But so far, from what I can see, this is normal for the most part. Like, they didn't even have this much flatland on the first iteration there. But this is quite pretty. we don't normally see this like huge lakes or maybe rivers with linking to a lake there. But this is also a really small desert, unless it continues elsewhere. But something else, another one of those terrain glitches we keep mentioning, it's kind of merging into an extreme hills over here. But that isn't a very big extreme hills. It kind of just, it's a gravelly hills actually. It kind of just hovers around sea level a bit with some flat gravelly lands and some emerald ore, which I think I spotted right over here on the ground, just ready for you to pick up. It goes from a desert into an extreme hills and back into plains. I'm not sure I like that too much. I do really enjoy just like the absolute insanity of the terrain that it's giving us over here. That's something that I actually do appreciate, but it's not the best biome blending. You can see over here how it just straight up cuts through the plains biome, which clearly would have continued past the extreme hills and into this village. But instead we just get, this random one chunk of gravelly hills that just cuts through here, and that's what we call the microbiomes. They're just a chunk wide and they cut through everything else that's around them. And this is very pretty. Little watery cave just under a huge hill. I want to see how much more we can get out of this world, because from what I saw in the past, just totally different worlds. And oh, here's one of the azalea trees. We did not see any of these before. Basically, in the current version, they have, like, as I keep mentioning, we still have the experimental mode where we can see the mountains and the new caves and the new biomes, but we didn't actually see any lush caves. And here is a telltale sign of one of them. We actually have an azalea tree with some... Is this still rooted dirt? That may be a bug. But azalea trees sit directly on top of a lush cave, and I think we're getting some sneak peeks of that through the world glitching out a little bit here. And we're inside of a pretty pathetic lush cave. It's still really patchy for some reason. These are all just like such tiny biomes that you really don't get to appreciate them very much, because everything around just so quickly turns back into this stony bit. And we found some diamonds. Great if we were playing in survival. So this is a pretty nice lush caves area, I guess, but the fact that so nearby it is just back to the plain, boring stone isn't, the best feeling. But I have hope that they'll expand the biomes, they'll tweak the sizes. I am seeing a ton of villages in this world. That may just be because I'm flying around creative, but who knows? This would be a great place to start a raid, I know that. Back to sunrise, please. I really like how they changed the watercolors. That was actually done in the current version in 1.17, but it's really accentuated here when we have these different biomes, these much wider or more varied rivers rather. Hi! Thank you for watching and following and all that. I really don't expect people who come to watch any of my streams to actually follow, because, I'm not exactly the most entertaining and the most experienced with this stuff, but I am trying to be better. This is again one of those, I'm not sure if this is a microbiome, but it's a little bit of how you can see how it stretches out a little too far. Actually, I'm not sure. This might just be normal. I think that we've kind of used up our time in this world a bit. We will now try our best to generate another one. Whether or not it'll actually work out may be a different story. But don't know why I'm going there. We're going to go with experiments in creative mode, normal difficulty, show coordinates, fire spread off, and we're going to turn on all the experiments as usual, just because why not? We're actually going to keep turn daylight cycle off. They have removed the always day toggle. Am I blind? I very well may be blind. No, it's not here. So they used to have an always day toggle along with this do daylight cycle one. Alright. I'm gonna purposely activate this markers one. I hope that actually activates. Because it's not like there's a behavior pack component to it. Alright, let's watch our frames fall apart. At some point this will work out. Honestly, I've been appreciating this noise generator. You know, I think actually I just realized squeaky chair, we didn't look in the caves as much as I wanted to. So we're gonna do that a little bit maybe in this world, especially if the surface is same boring, not much unique stuff. While this generates, I am going to get some more water. So, hold on. We are back. Howdy. I got my water, and we are now in a new world, which, as I had hoped, is totally different. Actually, I want to see, does the markers pack work now that I actually set it up properly? Armor stand. And does it work, or did 1.17 just totally break it? Nope, face it that way. It works! Oh, yes. So, welcome to the Markers Resource Pack, courtesy of the wonderful Foxy No-Tail. So, I've been working with Foxy for quite a while now, but I haven't actually done much with him on the resource pack side of things. But this is the Markers Resource Pack. So it starts off with just an armor stand with a banner, but then, if you click it, we get spawning spheres, words. So mobs will spawn anywhere between these two rings, and will despawn outside the red one on simulation distance 4. Here we have 1 chunk, 9 chunks, and 25 chunks rendering all around us, where we can see the chunk borders, the sub-chunk borders, each of the blocks within the chunk. I can actually successfully fall and fly. This Markers Pack also has a bunch of other features like a compass to tell you the direction, how far away you are from it, the amount of days we spent in game, the time, the current frames per second, which are shockingly decent, the coordinates, the nether equivalent coordinates, and what biome is this feature is currently broken. This makes me sad. Right after the coordinates, normally it displays another one of those banners which says what biome it is, but it's not doing that. Oh, that is disappointing. That is the main feature that I wanted to use this for. No, actually, we're going to keep it on our hotbar in case there's anything like more chunk related we want to see, which I'm sure there is. Something like this. No, this is just again, the mesa biome extending a little bit too far, a little bit further than we expected. Here, we see a very rare sight. It's a desert temple that is generated 100% on the surface, not buried at all, and it's in the middle of some water. This is actually an issue that was fixed on Java, but I guess hasn't fixed on here, because the Bedrock devs are taking their time, to put it nicely. Now we're in the caves. I don't want to spend too much time here. I want to spend a lot more time after a little bit. But anyway, from our spawn point over there, we could actually see just how these two biomes actually work really well together. The desert biome and mesa biome are biomes that you would actually expect to see together. And they are working pretty well together over here. They're flowing around, their terrains are perfectly intersecting with one another, the plains are at the same level, all this stuff is all good, and you don't really see that in the current version. We're also going to take a moment, fly into the non-generating chunks, watch our frames per second stay shockingly consistent, and notice that there's another desert biome over here. Or is this just the beach? I know that they had the goal of making beaches a lot wider, but I think this is a little bit too wide to be a beach, and I don't think beaches change the water color around them. It's just a desert biome which finally merges into a plains biome and fails to generate for us. We are going to notice how there's another mesa biome over here, and we're going to stand here, wait for the chunks to render in, and stand on top of the mesa. Is this a microbiome? Or is it a... Oh, this is pretty. Oh. It's like a mesa mountain. I like this. Unfortunately, there is a bug where the red sand doesn't fully generate, but that's okay. Oh, I like this. Mesa biome going with a floating island above it. Oh my goodness. We really don't see this normally. How high up does this go? Again, we're above Y200 with just a normal biome. Now that's a view. That's a view that I would love. If I could build like a little satellite base here, where it's just a little globe, a little sphere of glass, and just occasionally fly into that sphere and live there. Oh, I would love that. So here again we have this meadow biome as it creeps up towards one of these tall hills. We have this pretty interesting generation. It's not a plains biome. It could be a forest biome. I'm really not sure. I do like it though, how we have the mountain on one side and we create kind of another one of these wonderful valleys. This is the stuff that I always want to see a lot more of in the game, these valleys, especially when at some point I do remember seeing a full mountains on either side with flatland in between. That was the best. So we see this kind of interesting generation over here where the terrain from the surface kind of blends into the biomes below. And this is something we would not get otherwise. This is part of that 3D biome thing that they introduced, where we have the biomes above, but normally the biome would kind of continue and stop, and anything below it would be considered cave. But because we have these 3D biomes, we have kind of these multiple layers. We have the grassy plains layer above, then we have a second grassy layer below it. Before as we dig down, we can start to get into the cave biomes, which I don't think we have any below here because we are already kind of low in the world. No, I don't think there's no new cave biomes in this area, but that does not disqualify my original point about how we have these 3D biomes that are kind of creating the new atmosphere here. Oh, as a Minecraft nerd, this just makes me so happy. Oh, I am absolutely a nerd, but I'm very proud of it. So this is something that I actually really like as well, how just in the side of the mountain we just have these random holes poking through. I don't think that's a new caves and cliffs feature, but I do appreciate it. Oh, I really love this. And is that a mountain? That's a new mountain. Ooh, this is perfect. I think we're gonna fly this area. We're gonna fly from these super tall mesa biomes through the meadows, which are kind of generally on the edge of mountains, or recently they've just been standalone, into the forest and the tall birch biome. Tall birch is a rare biome. And then we notice the hill. In survival, we would slowly try and traverse the hill, and I'm going to look down to preserve the suspense. I don't know why I'm doing this. I am very strange. We'll look down to preserve the suspense. We're going to look up, and we're going to see a towering mountain looming over us, with the meadow biome sloping up into it. Oh, this is wonderful. Meadow biomes tend to have plateaus at higher elevations, and they have the steeper slopes. As we mentioned, we can really start to see that over here. We have the steeper slopes, we have various plateaus, we do have a ton of flowers, a bunch of trees, and here we have one of the other biomes, which I don't actually remember what it's called. But there is a new type of forest biome, and we're going to come back to this azalea tree. There is a new kind of forest biome that leads up to the mountains, and here we have the snowy slopes. Is this all powdered snow? This is an absolutely massive area of powdered snow, and I think the texture is a little bit off. Or maybe it's because it's just because I don't have fancy graphics on right now, but these two are very distinctly different. But this is a huge, absolutely huge area. Does it span underneath? No, it does not. I think that powdered snow should be able to have the snow layers, like, I can't even place them on top of it. That's gotta be a bug. Oh, this is what I love. This is the wonderful, wonderful area that I love so much. Here we have a valley between two mountains that are not fully rendering in, and we have these huge steep slopes of the valleys and the tree groves, I think they're called. We have the stony peaks, the snowy peaks, these rounded off mountains and a bunch of snow on the side. And all around us we just have these mountains. And then this nice grassy, green, lush valley area just casually in the middle. So mountains, as we know, have a bunch of biomes, and here we see a lot more powdered snow again. Is this just because I don't have fancy graphics on? Sunrise, please. Let's see if this actually impacts our frame rate. We're at like 22 right now. It didn't. I'm gonna keep fancy graphics on. No, I think the texture is just a little messed up right now. How interesting. That might also be my resource packs. I'll have to test that. Ooh, this is a good place for a ski resort if anyone wanted to make one of those. Look how much powdered snow there is. I think there's a little bit too much. That's a little bit too much powdered snow. Oh, this is just magical. Everything's snow blocks, these mountains all around you. You're at Y128 already, which is basically the height that the previous mountains were capped at, but now there's these huge peaks all around. There's actually caves deep in the mountains. With how much I talk, it's so rare that I don't have words, but this blows my mind. Oh man. Is this rooted dirt? Why do we have rooted dirt here? There's no tree. Was there maybe a tree that was cut off? There was. Lush cave somewhere. This better not be the lush cave. That's like so pathetic. Okay, no, it's not. It continues somewhere around here. Hello? Sweet lush caves. Where are you? How did I do that? How did I do that just now? Okay, here, we can look. Is there like no lush cave around here? Is it really just this water bucket that's the lush cave? Come on. Really? There's a mine shaft. That's nice. We've yet to see any dripstone caves as well, which I think is pretty interesting. Alright, that explains all the rooted dirt, and I think this is another bug. There is way too much rooted dirt all around you on your way down to the lush caves. It's only supposed to be like a small pocket beneath the azalea tree, but instead we have that mess. And again, we have these magical valleys. Because when you think of mountains, you don't just think of the peak. You also think of like the grasslands all around it, the cities that are built on the grounds below it, looking up around it. Hello. You aren't even new chunks. You're just rendering super slowly. Please. Oh my goodness. Okay, we're gonna land. I see a geode down there. That's not anything new, but I still see a geode down there. I'm proud of that. Okay. I guess this area is like more suitable for walking around. No, there's powdered snow here. Everything's fine. We made it through the powdered snow. And here's the azalea tree that I promised you I would check out. We're gonna go actually right next to the tree trunk. And we're gonna dig down, not there, here. And we're gonna watch as we dig through way too much powdered snow. Here, oh, I saw a glimpse of it. I saw a glimpse of it. I want it. Ready? Where is it? Any moment. Oh, we're still so high. We're still like Y70 way up here. Another one of these? Really, Mike? That's pathetic. Really? You're gonna do that to us? It's not even whole chunks. It's just like an intersection of... Oh, come on. You can do better than that when you give us lush caves. That's... Dripstone cave. With texture glitches. Oh. I like how it waterlogs itself, and how the dripstone cave still continues even when that lush cave did not do better lush caves. I like how this works. I absolutely love how these pillars end up turning into dripstone as well. Dripstone? Yeah, dripstone is what this. I am using the right word. I do want to see a more open area with the dripstone. Like, this is decent as it is, but I want to see a more open area, and I want to see one of these big rooms with dripstone just filling the whole thing up. And like you can just stand in the middle and there's nothing but dripstone caves all around you. Not a tiny biome like that. I mean, that dripstone cave biome was actually substantial, but it's like 90% underwater, which is sad. Right, where's my hole up? There it is. Are you rising or setting? Rising. Back to sunshine. Didn't I set this? Didn't I tell the game to not do daylight cycle? Didn't I? I did. Why are you still doing the daylight cycle? Excuse me. Did you freeze? Hello? Not doing the daylight? Oh, goodness. Well, this is what we call bugs. Oh, thank you for the follow. welcome to the chaotic world of the upcoming Caves and Cliffs previews and stuff, where we get mountains, meadow biomes, and absolutely beautiful areas that you can just casually take a flight through. Since I'm guessing you just got here, I feel like I should show you the slow performance that we get, because this beta has a ton of new things that absolutely murder your device, especially when it's as low profile as mine. You can see just how many layers of new caves there are, and we can see if it loads in any minute. Hello? We're almost there. I ejected a rocket. I guess the reason why we've been maintaining a fairly stable frame rate is because they just like cap out the speed of chunk generation so much. Like, I'm not getting like 3 frames per second, but it looks like it just because of how slowly these chunks are generating. But to you, my new dearest follower, I am showing you this little valley area where, as we sit in here, we're surrounded by these massive mountains all around us. Like, imagine building a little town in here, a city or something like that. Maybe building a skyscraper or a tower in the center that goes up for like 60 blocks, and you get these views when you go up it. This isn't even the new noise generation that I wanted to look at in the snapshot. This is just the mountains. We've had these in for a little bit, but still magical, still nice, and there's still powdered snow up on the mountains. I'm not even living at home anymore, but I still hear footprints and I'm like, oh, my parents are home. It's like, no, they're not. Those are just people from other apartments. No one's gonna walk through my apartment door now. Will this end up loading? What's that? Okay, this is cool. I don't know what's going on over here, but I appreciate it. What's happening over here? So I think what happens over here is, because of these new 3D biomes, up on the surface we have the mountains and stuff, but then by the time we get down here, it's transitioned into a cave biome. So we have these pillars, and we also have these local water levels and these local aquifers, which we see down in the caves, and the aquifers have broken through to kind of create these various levels of floating ponds and waterfalls. That is new here. We see a little bit more of that here, and I think that this isn't actually intentional, so we're gonna enjoy it while it lasts. These local water levels and the random ponds just casually inside of a mountain. Beautiful. Oh, there's more. Oh, look at that. What's going on in there? Is it open? Oh my gosh, it's open. And it's less impressive than I anticipated, but it's still pretty cool. I'm gonna clear these out from my hotbar. Drink, please. Oh, I just realized, is my Minecraft game window too... It is. It's too zoomed in on the screen. No wonder this looks a little bit odd. I keep talking about my inventory and it hasn't been appearing for you. Oh. Oh no, the resolution's all weird. Oh no, this is a tragedy. Oh dear. Can we like do this to get it a little bit more normal? Now you don't see the stuff up top over here, but you know, I guess it functions better now. You can actually see my inventory? Yes. I think this is better. This will pass for now, I guess. Now this, oh, this is what I was asking for earlier on. Giant dripstone cave caverns. Oh, this is brilliant. I don't know why, so they're still patchy. I don't like that. They're still patchy with so much stone interwoven in. That shouldn't be like that. It should be a lot more stable? I don't think that's the word, but like if we do something like going from way down here all the way to maybe like up here, I don't know. I think this is going to be too big of an area. Oh, way too big. So we're going to go up to 83, so let's go 45. 70? No, 70 is too tall. 65 is still too tall, come on. I'm gonna cry. No, I'm not. $62, 75, and then up to 85. Now look how much better this little area looks. Now that it's like all dripstone, it's so much more properly biome feeling with just everything being dripstone except for like that stuff which I didn't fill or replace, rather than like every other block is just stone. Is that lush caves? No, this is actually a meadow biome and spawner. Have they changed up the loot at all in here? No. This is something I really think they need to redo. Like, why are these dungeons the same after they've been here for like 10 years? They can do better. I believe in you, Mojang. I put way too much faith in you for all of these updates, but I still believe in you. Oh, I love how the dripstone biome is kind of continuing still through here. But imagine how much better it would actually feel if everything was dripstone. Like, who thought that this was passable as a dripstone biome? These are like dripstone patches in a clustered area. Like, no. We want it to be a totally different area. It's not stone anymore. It's a whole new world. Where are we gonna come out? Oh, there's another aquifer. Look how many layers of stuff there is before we even start getting close to the surface. And we have some ice caves. Oh, that was has my heart. And now we're in the magical, absolutely perfect area. And What did I just do that fixed night vision? I have night vision on, and so I can't see the difference between the... Hello, I just drank milk. So I can't see the difference between the two. I see. Is it still the case at like noon? No, it's not. So we can actually... That's pretty interesting. Okay. You're not moving, right? Right? Okay. Okay, now back to the normal noise generation. We've seen a lot of the mountains before. We're gonna go to the actual goal of today's stream, which is the noise generation. I don't know, pick a coordinate. 2000, 2000. Sure thing. I forgot the one. I forgot the height. Hello? Please respond to me, chat. And we're gonna be inside of the lock. No, we're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna sit here patiently. We're just gonna wait. We're gonna keep waiting, apparently. And at some point we fell. All right then. Okay, generate. I'm gonna look up in a few seconds, and by the time I look up, you better be generated, right? Oh, pathetic. Suddenly, and we've ended up right next to an extreme hills biome. How wonderful. Or is this a mountain already? Again. Now this is ooh. If my render distance is better and this generated at a decent speed, maybe I could actually see what's going on here a little better. So it looks to me like we've got a snowy taiga leading into a mega taiga with plains all around it. And this mega taiga is also an extreme hills biome. I like how the mega taiga, the snowy and mega and extreme hills mix together. I don't think it's perfect here yet, but I really like how the mega taiga continues up this hill and takes a break kind of in this middle area where the extreme hills pops in for a bit. Although I do think the extreme hills lines are a little bit rigid. Like you can very clearly see the line going down there, all around here and back. This snowy taiga is also really interesting because this is again something that you really don't see in the current version. We obviously have these lower bits and these hills, but the hills normally at some point would like end maybe around this height and start sloping back down or something. But here they just continue going up, and you end up with a flatland, a snowy plains biome at Y100. This you would normally only see at sea level, but here all of a sudden it's like 40 blocks higher than usual. And of course with a beautiful cave that runs right through it. I appreciate you, Minecraft. This is gorgeous. I can't wait to build something in one of these. not going to do any building. I'm going to wait patiently for a few more months. Mountains again. That's actually really interesting. So obviously over here we have the snowy taiga, and the snowy taiga kind of leads down because it's ignoring its own noise generation. Like its own noise generation, as if by default would say stay at sea level and be completely flat. But right now it's kind of ignoring that, and it kind of has these more generic rules. The generic rules being stay flat, but it doesn't really matter what height you are, and blend with biomes like the snowy taiga. But then we have things like this. The powdered snow tells me that it's a mountains biome. And we can, so these snowy mountainy biomes, which we normally only see like at higher elevations in mountains, are serving as the hillsides, even going all the way down to water level, just because they're surrounded entirely by snow, which leads to a really, really interesting variation in the biomes. I really like that. And now you can actually see this like magical feature of how the snowy plains biome kind of keeps mixing with the snowy tundra, but it still stays relatively flat at this really high altitude. And the snowy plains still continue to form this plateau, or this general, like, very gradually sloping hill, while at the same time being like much higher than they normally would be if these were the typical characteristics. And the sloping hill still makes it feel like it's part of that snowy tundra flatland biome with this very gradual slope, and it's huge. It's massive. But you would never see anything like this drastic or this connected with like the snowy tundra or the mega taiga or the mountains biomes. Like, this is another mountains biome. You would never see something like this in the current version, just because of the way the height is coded into the biome. It would be so low, and then the biome would end, and then it would get to the mountain biomes, and then the mountains biome would start. But here it's just thoroughly integrated with each other, and that continues this massive snowy tundra-y mountain range. I personally think that's pretty cool. Ooh, this is pretty. I don't know if you can hear my whispers, but this is pretty. We do have the trees, and they do lead up into the mountain. Look at how seamless this is. How it just continues sloping down even as the biome changes. Thought for a second I need to sneeze, because I don't think. Thanks, Nose, for telling me that I need to sneeze when I didn't. It's a liar. I feel like there are going to be so many amazing places to base. Like, I'm always obsessed with these snow biomes, but in the current edition, they're just not good enough to do anything with. But right here, like something like these amazing like flatland areas where there's mountains and valleys and all of this beautiful stuff. Something like this would be just perfect to base in. And I really kind of surprisingly like how we have these giant holes just leading down into the caves. Like, I don't think that I would enjoy them, but I find myself loving them. Let's try a different location now. Actually, I think we want to try a different world, because this world has been like pretty normal for the most part, with the exception of like a couple of odd things. This world has been kind of what we would expect from an experimental world. The first one was very odd, and the second one is what we would expect. So let's see. Let's do a third test and see what it kind of leans towards. Do daily cycle off. Log briefing off. Let's make sure the markers pack is active. And we're gonna see how this goes. I'm gonna get another drink of water, so pardon my silence. We're back in the living world. I don't know why I'm like this. Why do I do this? What? For some reason, our frame rate is a lot lower in this area. Probably because this is a magical world spawn. Let's let it generate in and let's see what's... I'm gonna raise my render distance up a bit, but I'm not gonna move around. Because I really want to see what's going on in this area. Chunks are seemingly generating faster than they were before. Seemingly. Who knows if they actually are or not. Hello? Is that like fully generated? Mostly? Yes, no, maybe. Okay. I am actually going to try and start a program which I haven't run in a while, so it may just totally fail. But let's give it a try. Thank you for your patience. I am waiting for a brand new program to start up. There it is. What do you mean Minecraft version is unsupported? Of course it's unsupported. It's... No, you don't, like, want to actually try and function for me. Attached to Minecraft? Oh, come on. Alright, so we're not going to be doing that apparently. That I was trying to get it to change my field of view with the tap of a button, but I guess we can just go into here. Alright, so welcome to the welcome to the smaller view area. So we spawn down here in the jungle, which as it is pretty magical. This feels very laggy. It's not, but it feels like it is. So what we're gonna do is this. Ooh, too fast, too fast. Too fast. Still too fast. But it's more manageable now. I'm gonna slow it down a little bit more. Much better. Right, so we started down here in this jungle area, which as it is pretty magical. Because we can see in the background there how it kind of goes up onto a hill. And we have these hills, we have trees, you can see way in the background just in the fog. I don't know if it's going to properly render in the contrast settings on the stream, but in the fog back there we see some trees that are even higher up. And then the jungle kind of starts to transition into the birch forest on the outside and into a dark oak forest on the inside. Those become a meadow biome, and then we end up at, this is an extreme hills biome actually. This isn't even a mountain biome. This is an extreme hills biome. It's just like shooting up into the sky. Like from the ground all the way up, you really don't get much of a flat area or a manageable area where you get these breaks from these huge sheer cliff sides. And then those huge cliff sides actually continue into a mesa, which is really interesting. I don't like how the jungle links into the mesa, but I do love how the mesa just like follows the curve of the mountains, but not at the same height, like a little bit lower. And then we have this wonderful little valley before the mesa continues with a little plateau over there. And if we head towards the plateau, we'll watch as our rendering just disappears. But here we can see this whole mesa biome. And these red stripes. For some reason, the red stripes right here with the coarse dirt are very accentuated. Is there anything here? No. This is just a random peak. So maybe now I like it a little bit less, because it makes less sense to just have a random peak which goes up and down either side. This one is still pretty big, pretty substantially sized. So I can give this one a pass. I want to fix my settings now. Wrong button. So full keyboard gameplay off. And video on. So now we're back to our normal settings and we can see how it's not just a peak actually. Right, so it's just that field of view. And we did have these little mesa peaks, but they continue with the meadow biome, which links up into the extreme hills up there, and they continue around some more extreme hills, merging in and flowing down into the plains. So they did change the ore generation, but I don't know if this is the way to go, where we just have like just barely above sea level these emeralds on the surface. I do want to see though, does this granite actually go anywhere? Like, does it continue anywhere? Because they added ore veins, and ore veins are normally in swatches of granite like that. But it doesn't seem like it. What it does seem like though is that this is kind of a little bit more quote-unquote expected from terrain gen, but I don't know how expected we can actually call it when there are peaks that are like that right next to the plains village, but it doesn't feel wrong per se. It doesn't feel wrong like a desert in the middle of a plains or a snowy taiga in the middle of a plains. It still feels kind of natural. A little bit. It's not what we're used to. I can say that for sure. But it's kind of okay, at least. I'm gonna get myself an elytra. Or two. And if the lag can cooperate with me, I'm gonna fly up to the top. See, it actually cuts off kind of awkwardly up here. Why is that? So that was Y201. Is that the same height that this other one cuts off at? No. This one rounds off. This is still a meadow biome. This isn't extreme hills. This is a meadow biome being pushed up with the shattered terrain for some reason. That's very odd. You'd think that this would be like an extreme hills biome, but it's still the same slopey. I'm not sure how much sense that makes, considering meadows are meant to be the lead up to the mountain, not the mountain itself, and they're not supposed to really have that much stone there. I do think down here it kind of feels a little bit more typical of our normal thing, though we do have a normal village and an abandoned village kind of right near each other, unless I'm just blind. I may just be blind. Oh, what's going on over here? This is a flower forest leading into an actual extreme hills biome. This is what a normal extreme hills biome actually looks like. That's interesting. Okay. Do I have to turn fancy leaves on to get my yellow birch leaves? Yes, I do. No, I don't. It's just broken. Alright, that's fine. Everything's fine. So, I do think that now it is a little bit short of a stream. I normally try and aim for around 2 hours, but we're getting pretty close to the 2-hour mark. And considering we've just been exploring mostly the surface and a little bit of the caves, I think this is pretty good. This is a pretty good time to just about wrap it up. I think we're in a good place to wrap it up, right? So what we're gonna do over here, I would really like to see if we can find an azalea tree somewhere and end the stream in a pathetic lush cave biome. And if that doesn't work out in the next, I don't know, I'll give it a minute. Yeah, I don't see this doing too much for us. We're just gonna take our bare hand and we're gonna tunnel all the way down. Until we find a cave that is suitable for what we want. Let's follow this noodle cave down through an aquifer with some beautiful diamonds to this general area. And this is where we will end. So, with all this said, my chat cooperates. Thank you very much for coming to this wonderful stream where we explored beta 1.17.30.23 with the brand new noise surface generation and all that wonderful stuff. We got to see how the future of Minecraft may end up looking with new surface height variations, brand new caves, magical mountains, and really everything being changed. And the best part is that we're not even done with this update, that there is so much more for us to see that's yet to come, like the Warden, the entire Deep Dark, possibly ice cave biomes, and just so much more polishing, tweaking, and feedback from the community that we're going to end up getting that the devs are going to end up implementing. So I hope with all this said that you enjoyed this look into the new beta and our new dripstone lush caves. Take some of the feedback, some of the bugs, everything we've seen here, take all that into account. And with that said, goodbye.